Anthony Mangnall.
Thank you, Sir Charles, and it's a pleasure to be able to serve under your chairmanship. And can I start by congratulating the member for Orkney and Shetland? We have a good tradition of following one another in debates, and it is always a pleasure to hear him speak on this issue with such knowledge. And as someone who has recently arrived in Westminster, I am very privileged to be able to represent Brixham, Salcombe and Dartmouth, which have fine fishing fleets and a fine fishing tradition, of which I hope to be able to ably represent in this place. And can I also pay tribute to David Linky? I didn't know him, but I did see his work, and I know how much he meant to the industry. And on that note, I'd also like to pay tribute to Jim Porters, who has stepped down as the head of Swaffplough, and wish Juliet Hatcham the best of luck in taking on that new role. She'll certainly have a number of us to deal with in the South West. I take the point that the member for Orkney and Shetland said, which is that there is an opportunity for the fishing industry and that there must be political will. But at the same time, we must ensure that we are not playing party politics with this issue, because there are opportunities in leaving the European Union, and one of those opportunities has recently been recognised, and the Minister knows all too well, because I have been knocking on her door almost daily about it, which is the relationship around live bivalve molluscs and the gradations of our waters, and the fact that the Food Standards Agency has moved very significantly in the last 8 months to now allow us to challenge anomalous results. Now, I realise that there are different examples in each of our constituencies as to how we will be impacted by this, but it is extremely welcome to see how we can move at pace. After organisations have been asking for these changes for 30 years, we have managed to see some of the changes come through in 8 months. And I hope we might be able to see a little bit more of that approach, because we can never give certainty. But we can look at the way in which we can reform our own domestic legislation and provide the opportunities for the fishing fleets in our coastal communities. The second point I would like to make, Sir Charles, is about high marine protected areas and the Benyon review. Now, I understand the point that Lord Benyon is making, and I understand the point in the review, but we must also have faith in our fishermen to be able to look after their waters. They are not doing it so that there are no future generations to be able to make money and make a business and a livelihood out of it. They want to look after their waters and their coastlines as much as we do. So whatever we do when it comes to the highly protected marine areas, we must make sure it is in conjunction, cooperation and discussion with the fishing fleets. And I hope that the Minister and the DEFRA team will engage with as many people in this place and outside of Westminster to find the right balance for where we can have operations operating in highly protected marine areas and where it won't work and where it will work. And of course there is also a move on the environmental side of offshore wind farms, which are also eating up their side. Now, in a rare moment of cross-party unity, I find myself in agreement with the chair of the International Trade Committee about the point of the Maritime Fisheries Fund, which I believe has now been replaced by the Fisheries and Seafood Scheme, FAS, about the £100 million. The government has been generous about this, DEFRA has been generous about this, but it doesn't mean anything until it is produced. And I know they have to jump through hoops with the Treasury, and I appreciate that. But a lot of people are waiting to hear, and we have been waiting close to 7-8 months on when this happens. On the note of certainty, we have a transition period. And again, I go back to this point that in the next 5 years, we have an opportunity in 2026 to be able to provide a degree of certainty to the industry about what our future steps and what our future relationship with the European Union is going to be. And I hope that we can begin that process of reassurance, build up the opportunity to develop our fleet in our coastal communities, and ensure that people understand where we are going and why the TCA that we have now is what it is, because there is room for opportunity. Now, the Minister was very kind and gracious enough to come down to Brixham, and unfortunately I wasn't able to be there, and I know she met with a number of my constituents, and she would have heard a great deal about non-tax species. Well, we need to have further discussions about what goes beyond 2021, because right now the uncertainty is there, and the disparity between what EU vessels can catch in our waters versus what we can catch in their waters is something that is of grave concern, and there is a lot more that we can do. Now, and I'm conscious of time, Sir Charles, but my last 2 points. One is about the specialised trade committees. There are 2 committees set up that are going to be linked to fishing. First is going to be on SPS, and the second is on just fishing. I would be very interested if the Minister might just address how those committees are going to be set up, who is going to be put on it, what representation there will be from Westminster and DEFRA, and sorry for the list of questions on that. But these committees do offer us an enormous opportunity to streamline the process in ensuring that we can get our exports out to where they need to be, as so many other members have raised as a point of concern. To end on a positive note, Sir Charles, I got the stats this morning from Brixham Fish Market. They are now earning £800,000 per week. In previous years, it has been about £300,000 to £400,000. They are selling 40% up on previous years. They are looking forward to a very, very prosperous summer. Now, I know that is not the case universally across the United Kingdom, but it is worth noting that my fishermen in Brixham, in England's most valuable fishing port, are painting a very positive story. And if you'll indulge me very briefly, which is that I was asked the other day what they were doing on the 5th of November, and they said, well, we built the effigy of you, we're just deciding whether or not to burn it. And I've been told they're not intending to quite yet. So on that note, Sir Charles, thank you very much.